Coach, we're starting tonight with an 11 News investigation. A former deputy district attorney in the Pikes Peak region has negotiated a plea deal in a child sex assault case.
We've been following this case since 2023 when David McConkie was first charged with child sexual assault. McConkie was a prosecutor in El Paso and Teller County courts from 2008 to 2011. Let's turn to investigative reporter Melissa Henry, and you have McConkie's plea agreement now.
And Adam, it appears McConkie will not serve any prison time. That's if a judge accepts this plea deal. In the plea agreement papers, McConkie admits to touching a 10 to 11-year-old girl inappropriately after she had a nightmare and was seeking comfort back in 2014. According to the new court papers, McConkie has agreed to plead guilty to a felony. That's criminal attempt to commit sexual assault on a child. That is a lesser charge, though, than what he was originally facing. A judge, if they accept this plea agreement under this, McConkie could serve 5 years of supervised probation. He also would be required to register as a sex offender. McConkie's defense attorney said they have no comment when I asked to speak with them today, and that we also know sentencing is set for July. 11 News pushed to get this plea agreement. At first, a court representative told us we could not have the documents yet. After asking the courts if the case was being treated differently, because the defendant is a former prosecutor, the same court representative told us they would be giving us the records today. McConkie's sentencing, like we said, it's set for July. We'll continue to follow this.
We're going to keep going with this, and we're going to find out everything about him, including some stuff they didn't bother to report on. He is the grandson of a Mormon prophet. He is also a church leader in his own right. After his time as a deputy DA, he became a partner in a law firm in that part of Colorado, and he was molesting a child the entire time. Let's dig in and learn all about this case right after my overly obnoxious trigger warning. Roll the intro.
My girl, don't lie to me. Tell me, where did you sleep last night? In the pines where the sun don't ever shine. I will shiver the whole night through. My girl, where will you go? I am going where the cold wind blows. In the pines, where the sun don't ever shine. Shiver. Oh, my girl, don't lie.
This can, and often does, include private meetings with teens where their sexual activity is discussed in detail. David McConkie's paternal grandfather, Bruce R. McConkie, served as a member of the Quorum of the 12 Apostles, which is a leadership body of the LDS Church from 1972 to 1985 when he passed away. David McConkie is about 45 years old. As a young, faithful member of the LDS Church, McConkie went on a mission from 1997 to 1999 in Cochabamba, Bolivia. This is an area where Mormon missionaries were known to baptize people who had little to no understanding of the church's teachings. That did happen before McConkie was there. McConkie's mission seems to have been uneventful. McConkie has served the LDS Church in various positions over the years. McConkie served as a young men's president. In this position, McConkie provided spiritual mentorship, youth programs and activities, leadership development, and coordinated with church leadership. He also provided ministering support to boys aged 12 through 18. This was in the early 2010s. After this, McConkie was called as a bishop in the church. In the LDS faith, the bishop leads a ward or one local church. The bishop is the spiritual leader, judges the members' worthiness, is the leader of all in the church with a special focus on boys 16 to 18 years old, assigns callings to people, approves and denies welfare and temporal support to members, acts as the confidant and counselor to the ward members. The bishop is believed by the church to speak directly with God. Bishops in the LDS Church also meet with minors about their worthiness to partake in the sacrament, which is what the LDS Church calls the Eucharist. This can, and often does, include private meetings with teens where their sexual activities are discussed in detail. Bishops have been accused of exerting undue influence over members' personal lives, including their sexual relationships. Local LDS wards are organized into stakes. McConkie served as a president of the Colorado Springs East Stake. I can't find information on how many wards are in that stake, but would welcome it if a faithful or former faithful member of the church could leave that information in a comment. I do know that this area has a large LDS membership ratio among its population, and that church leadership has proposed a temple in Colorado Springs. Currently, members in that area have to drive to Denver to visit their nearest temple. There are many ordinances, such as marriage, that can only be performed in the temple, not in the ward buildings. From my research, I do not believe McConkie was currently serving in any of these roles at the time of his arrest. Let's learn about his personal and professional life. It is reported that a since-deleted biography of McConkie on the Torbert and Tufts website says that he was a law clerk for the DOJ. After returning from his mission, McConkie attended Brigham Young University, or BYU. I do not have details on what his undergraduate degree was in. I do know that BYU is the LDS Church's university and has been accused of doing shoddy scholarship on issues related to the church and church history. I am uncertain when McConkie was married, but based on the average age that faithful LDS generally get married, it was probably during or immediately after his undergraduate years. His wife is named Joanne. After obtaining his bachelor's degree, he attended Utah State University, which is also reportedly controlled by the church, where he obtained a Juris Doctorate. That's the degree lawyers get, in case you were unaware of this. After obtaining this degree and passing his bar exam, McConkie served as a deputy DA for Colorado Springs from 2008 to 2011, like they said in the intro reel. Following that appointment, McConkie was a partner in the Torbert, Tuft & McConkie law firm. His professional association with this firm was dissolved in 2023, and it was renamed to Torbert & Tuft. It is reported that a since-deleted biography of McConkie on the Torbert and Tufts website stated that he was a DOJ law clerk. McConkie's brother is a founding member of the McConkie law firm that exclusively represents the church and operates out of Salt Lake City, Utah. This association is notable for this case because this law firm runs the hotline that bishops are instructed to call for advice on how to handle reports of CSA in their wards. The bishops are largely unaware that they are actually contacting a law firm and not the church directly. They are also generally provided with legal advice rather than spiritual advice. Over the years, McConkie and Joanne gave birth to 7 children. David Merrill Jr., Peter, Daniel, Adam, Rachel, Angela, and Amy. I do not know when the children were born, but I know they were all named in an official church document in 2009. Now let's talk about how McConkie ended up on a true crime program. This reporting took place in 2008. Let me explain why that is incredibly important. The allegations were brought forward by a currently 19-year-old female whose name is being withheld due to her age at the time of the abuse. The victim reports that they have reason to believe the abuse started when they were an infant. While they obviously do not remember these incidents, this is based on things McConkie has said to them. The victim has also reported that McConkie has had a habit of forcefully hugging and kissing them as far back as they can remember. The victim reports that she would fall asleep next to McConkie. She would later wake up to him touching her. She would repeatedly ask McConkie to stop what he was doing. McConkie did not stop and persisted in his abuse of this victim. On a recorded phone call, McConkie stated that some of the touching was accidental. Only some of it, though. Even if you believe McConkie's refutation that has been used by every sexual predator in the history of forever, it's only some of them. Police interviewed an LDS Church official whose name has been redacted from the reports for some reason. Additionally, most of the reporting out of El Paso County does not mention which church McConkie belongs to. I wonder why that information would be left out. How come a church that is popular enough in the area to build a temple there would be omitted from the official reporting? Can you think of any reason that this information might be redacted? Any guesses about the person or organization that is attempting to hide this information? Anyway, this redacted official stated that McConkie had confessed the abuse to him. It has to be a him because women cannot become church officials in the LDS Church. That reporting took place in 2008. Let me explain why that's really important. The report predates McConkie being called to work with teens. It predates McConkie as bishop, and it predates McConkie being called as a stake president. So a group of people who believe they speak directly to God put a man who they had every reason to know was a child abuser in charge of a stake, and they speak directly to God according to their theology. The only logical conclusion to draw from that information is that the LDS Church believed God wanted a child molester in this position of power. The victim reports that the abuse happened on a regular basis and continued until she was 11 or 12 years old. Let me ask you something. What children do you believe this man had this type of access to from infancy until 11 or 12 years of age? The only ones that I can think of are his own children. The victim stated that they came forward at this point in time because they believe McConkie is currently abusing other young children. This is based on her witnessing the way those other children behave around McConkie. McConkie was arrested and charged with sexual assault on a child by one in a position of trust with a pattern of abuse. According to Justia law, this is a level 3 felony in this case, which is punishable by 4 to 8 years in jail with registration on the sex offender registry for up to life. McConkie originally pleaded not guilty to these charges. Eventually, McConkie pleaded guilty to one count of attempted sexual assault on a child, which is a Class 5 felony. This means that McConkie is likely to be sentenced to probation instead of jail time. Additionally, he can petition to have his name removed from the sex offender registry 10 years after his probation ends. There is a hearing scheduled in June where McConkie will have to admit to his offenses, and then the judge can accept or reject the plea deal. What do you think the judge should do? Let's wrap this video up, shall we? There have been several recent high-profile cases of child abuse and even child murder linked to members of the LDS Church. Which is not even to mention that they murdered an entire wagon train full of people in the 1800s. I'll link to that video on the end screen. Jody Hildebrandt was teaching abusive child-rearing techniques and was recommended to members by the LDS Church up until her arrest. Ruby Franke was a member of the LDS Church in good standing until after her arrest. Chad and Lori Daybell were both members of the LDS Church in good standing with temple recommends until after their arrest. If you're not familiar with the LDS Church, a temple recommend is required to enter the temple where those ordinances that I mentioned earlier are performed. Remember that according to their theology, bishops speak directly to God, and temple recommends are approved by bishops. So the LDS Church believes that God wanted these people to have temple recommends, otherwise God would have said no. This one's long, I need to read it. Finally, LDS Church leaders have also stated it is impossible to be a Democrat and a faithful Mormon, which should be enough to get their tax-exempt status pulled because it violates the separation of church and state in one of the most egregious ways possible. Additionally, this man is or was affiliated with the Boy Scouts according to his LinkedIn profile, which is another group that has also had several child abuse allegations lodged against them. The LDS Church is a problem. Why are we allowing an organization worth over $250 billion with a B for crying out loud, dollars to maintain their tax-exempt status when they violate the separation of church and state and are also known to harbor child molesters in their leadership ranks? What are your thoughts on all this? Let me know in a comment. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Remember, as always, super thanks and channel memberships are super cool. And now, I got a jam, so Ted, you are it. After this, McConkie was called as a bishop in the church, and the LDS faced local LDS words. His professional association with this forum was they are also